Your skin color doesn't belong at this ranch lake. That's what Carolyn Whitmore said to me, cool as ice, right as I was casting my line out into the still water, just looking for a little peace after a hell of a week. Her words sliced through the quiet like a warning shot, loud enough to echo, sharp enough to cut, and you could just feel the contempt and that ugly self-appointed authority hanging in the air. I barely had time to process it before, out of nowhere, police cars started rolling up like they'd been called to a hostage crisis, not a fishing trip. I stood there, silent, steady, while she pointed at me and said, "This man doesn't belong here. Don't let him dirty our community." That's the thing about people like Carolyn. They're so wrapped up in their own world they don't even realize who they're dealing with. She had no idea who I was. And the officers she demanded, all of them, ended up reporting to someone she'd regret crossing real soon. But let me back up a sec. This story starts long before hashtags and viral outrage, before 2.3 million people decided to care about what happened out at Lake Meadowbrook. Saturday afternoon, golden hour, that water glowing with every shade of amber, nothing but pines, quiet, and the old Fenwick rod my dad gave me. I'd picked that spot on purpose, not just for the fish, but for the solitude. After 20 years reviewing federal security protocols, dealing with everybody's crisis but my own, this dock was where I finally breathed easy. At least, until Carolyn showed up. She stormed out from the tree lean. Crisp white blazer, silver bob, designer sunglasses, shoes that had never touched real dirt. Everything about her screamed power, or at least her version of it. "Excuse me," she called, voice sharp, already assuming she was about to be obeyed. "This is private property. You need to leave immediately." I looked up, calm, a little tired, honestly just wishing I could pretend not to hear her. But that's not how I was raised. There was this performance in her indignation, like she'd been practicing in the mirror. Lips thin, eyes already scanning for witnesses. I'd seen that look before, boardrooms, crime scenes, all the places where people think position means they get to decide who counts. "Good evening," I told her, measured, all de-escalation. "Could you show me the sign or the document that says this is private? Maybe there's some confusion." She wasn't expecting pushback, not a bit. Her face flushed, her sunglasses shifted, and she fired back. "Don't get smart with me. I'm the president of the Lake Meadowbrook HOA. This lake is for residents and approved guests only, and you are clearly neither." She couldn't even finish the sentence without her voice catching. She gestured at me like I was a stray dog, talking about standards and property values and people like you. Never quite crossing that line, but you could smell the prejudice. I set my rod down, kept my tone even. I understand concerns about access, but which rule, exactly, am I breaking? Now she was caught. Her confidence wobbled, then hardened. "I don't need to explain regulations to trespassers. I'm calling the police." And she did, every word loud and clear, throwing in suspicious black man and dangerous for extra measure. You know what I mean? I just kept prepping my line, calm, because I've seen this play 1,000 times. Folks who think calling the cops is a magic spell to make anyone they don't like disappear. The crazy part? She was calling the very people I'd spent decades training, supporting, sometimes even saving their butts. Sirens started in the distance. She looked satisfied, like the cavalry was coming for her private battle. First on scene, Officer Martinez. I clocked him instantly, a former student from a community relations course at the regional academy, back when we still believed a little training could change a lot. He started walking up. You could see the confusion, the gears turning in his head, recognition, disbelief, respect. "Ma'am," he started, glancing at her, but his eyes kept flicking over to me. She didn't notice, too busy talking about trespassers and how she runs the show. Then he really looked at me. "Sir, are you Agent Patterson from the FBI Academy?" He was trying not to blow my cover, but the surprise got him. I nodded. "That's me. Good to see you again, officer." Carolyn had no idea what just happened. She snapped, "I don't care who you think you are. This man needs to be arrested, now." Her voice got shrill, posture rigid, arms crossed like a shield. Behind her, I caught movement. Some teenager, skateboard tucked under his arm, filming with his phone. The world has changed. Now every HOA meltdown is a potential headline. Martinez kept his cool, asked me to explain my presence, hoping maybe I'd give him something to diffuse the situation. I kept it vague, suggested we double-check the actual rules about lake access. Carolyn got red-faced, talking about no confusion and you're not welcome. Even started pressuring Martinez about doing his job. But then fate, or maybe karma, decided to show up. My old FBI credentials slipped from my wallet, just visible behind my tackle box. Martinez spotted them. You could see the whole story play out on his face. Suddenly he knew exactly who he was dealing with, and that this was no ordinary HOA complaint. He pivoted, tried to buy time, recommended we clarify boundaries and verify rights before acting. Carolyn looked like she'd swallowed a lemon but refused to back down. By that night, the teenager's video was viral, trending nationwide. You know how it goes. Clips on every feed, Carolyn's finger-wagging, her emphasis on dirtying the community. The country saw what had always been hidden in these nice neighborhoods, prejudice with a pearly white smile. Reporters, activists, even old friends started blowing up my phone. I mostly let it ring. The ex-investigator in me was already digging, connecting dots. See, Carolyn's reaction was so fast, so rehearsed, it wasn't just about me. She was protecting something. Her talk in a local interview about Lake Meadowbrook's potential, about attracting luxury investors, that set off alarms. She sounded like a sales rep, not a neighbor. A buddy from my FBI days, Claire Dawson, called me up. Malik, we might have a problem. I remember her from a fraud investigation, veterans charity, money missing, connections to developers. Nothing stuck, but the files are still there. I dug into my own records. Turns out, years ago I'd invested in the original Lake Meadowbrook project, a founding shareholder with explicit, permanent access rights. That was long before the HOA even existed. My name, my contract, the legal stamp, ironclad. Carolyn either didn't know or pretended not to. The plot thickened. On one side, Carolyn's crowd, old guard, property value hawks, folks who never really saw me as one of them, even when I waved from the mailbox. On the other, folks who saw the video for what it was. HOA leadership masking bigotry as standards. It all built up to the night of the big meeting. Place was packed. Neighbors, media, tension so thick you could chew it. Carolyn stood up, tried to play the victim, spun her story about outside forces, charts, graphs, all smoke and mirrors. Then Mrs. Henderson, one of the only black residents, stood and called it out, straight up. That was racism, plain and simple. You had no right. The crowd buzzed, younger families chiming in, a tidal shift in the room. I walked in, portfolio under my arm, documents in hand. Actually, I have a few things to say. I laid out the original contracts, even got the county clerk on speaker to verify everything. The silence was thunderous. Nobody, not even Carolyn, could deny the facts. But I didn't stop there. I told them about my father, the Vietnam vet who dreamed of a home by the water. That dock was more than a fishing spot. It was his legacy, my way to honor him. Carolyn exploded, screaming about outsiders and her community. But then, twist of all twists, Harold Thompson, retired CPA, stood up, folder in hand. He'd been tracking the money, and what he found was ugly. Funds missing, fake invoices, payments to her ex-husband's shell companies, even emergency repairs that never happened. $250,000 vanished. It wasn't just racism or power trips. It was real, old-fashioned theft. I called it federal fraud, criminal territory. Got Claire Dawson back on the phone, and as the crowd realized what was happening, the room went wild. That's when 3 FBI agents walked in, badges out. Agent Martinez leading the charge. They cuffed Carolyn on the spot. Mail fraud, money laundering, civil rights violations. As they let her out, she hissed, "You'll never really belong here." But her words landed hollow. The news was even bigger than Lake Meadowbrook. Turns out, this was just one node in a network. 12 states, dozens of HOAs, developers paying off corrupt board members, targeting minority families, forced sales, systematic harassment. The Johnsons, forced out last year, told their story. Dozens more joined in, harassed, cited, threatened, all to clear the way for luxury redevelopment. Justice moved fast. Special assembly, hundreds of residents, sheriff's deputies for order, my attorney distributing packets of evidence. Financials, emails, everything, laid out for everyone to see. The new board, built from every corner of the community, voted to rename the place Lake Unity. Carolyn got 18 years. The developer's empire collapsed. The old guard? Most just left quietly, their spell finally broken. With my restitution, I didn't buy a new boat or move away. Instead, we started a program for the kids, civil rights, financial literacy, outdoor skills. Memorial Day, we dedicated a plaque to my dad and every veteran who'd fought for a better America. Families came together, black, white, everyone. Barbecue on the lawn, laughter echoing off the water. Even the Johnsons came back, buying their house again, tears in their eyes at the new Lake Unity sign. Harold handed me a letter written by Mr. Johnson before he died. This lake is the American dream. Thank you for proving justice still matters. Reading it, I realized, this fight, this win, it's bigger than me. Every hard moment, every breath held waiting for the right outcome. It's worth it when you see kids of all backgrounds playing by the lake, parents sharing stories instead of gossip, the old wounds healing. So here's my challenge to you. What kind of community do you want to build? Is it about exclusion and old grudges, or do we stand up for each other, even when it's hard? Justice is messy, change is slow, but sometimes it only takes one person refusing to leave the dock for the tide to turn. If you've ever faced something like this, or you've got a story about fighting for what's right, share it below. Tell me your wildest HOA or community horror story. Let's debate. What's fair, what's just, and who really gets to say where you belong.